County Commissioners will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by invocation by Commissioner Gurman. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in an attitude of prayer. Lord God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the beautiful weather, and we thank you for abundant moisture in this land that we love. We ask that you would guide us today in our decisions and in our words and in the thoughts of our heart. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Morning, everyone. I don't have any chair comments this morning, and commissioners will move to the consent agenda. Please note that the minutes have been suggested to be revised on one of the votes. Were there any other changes in the minutes? All right, motion to approve the consent agenda with revised minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as revised in the minutes. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay. Motion carries. This morning is an opportunity to address the commission with regard to the public. Madam Clerk, did anybody approach you for public comment this morning?
No, sir.
Anyone here wish to address the commission? Hearing none, we'll move straight into the business agenda, and we'll hear first from Lana Duvall, President and CEO of Economic Development Corp. Good morning.
Good morning. Lana Duvall, President and CEO of Finney County Economic Development Corporation, here this morning because one of your appointments to the FCEDC board is up for renewal. You currently have two appointees to our board. One is Vicki Gurman, who has 1 year left on her term. The other is Sam Hands, and it is time for his renewal. Our terms are 3 years each, and there's nothing in the bylaws that limits how long anybody serves on the FCEDC board.
All right, questions? Vicki, you serve on that board. Do you think that Sam should be reappointed for another 3-year term?
I would make that motion to approve Sam Hands for another term on Finney County Economic Development.
My question, Lana, is the term end 12/31 of, when does the term end?
It did in 12/31 of 24, right? So this will start another 3-year term.
Can we make our motion to appoint him effective 1/1 of 25 for a 3-year term?
You certainly can. Mm-hmm.
Would you amend your motion accordingly?
I would.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded to appoint Sam Hands back to the Finney County Economic Development Board for an additional 3-year term, commencing January 1st of 2025 and ending 12/31, 3 years down the road. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to say publicly, we thank Sam for his work on this board, and we ask for his continued involvement, direction, and supervision of our Economic Development Corporation. Some great work occurring here in Garden City. Next on our agenda is to hear from the city with regard to a annual housing update. And I think we have Lisa Charles and Danielle Burke, Assistant City Manager.
Good morning. Alicia is going to hand out a couple slides that you'll see in your PowerPoint presentation, but they're a bit small in your PowerPoint. So we've got much bigger copies that are hopefully easier for you all to read. So I'm going to see if we can pull up the presentation. Fantastic. So good morning. I'm Danielle Burke. I'm an assistant city manager with the city of Garden City. I oversee public safety and development. And so as part of our kind of commitment to you all as partners for the RHID or the Reinvestment Incentive Housing District projects that we move forward on a pretty regular basis, we commit to you all as partners in that and as a partner taxing entity to give you all an annual update related to housing. So this is really meant to serve in that capacity and to hopefully answer any questions that you all have. RHID is really the primary tool that we utilize as it relates to housing development within the city of Garden City as well as in Finney County. So typically we start this presentation with kind of a high-level overview of some of the tools that we have in our tool belt related to economic development. The presentation today really is going to focus on that first one, which is why it's bolded, the Reinvestment Incentive Housing District, or RHID. This really, over the last 10, 15 years, has been the predominant tool that we've utilized to build housing in Garden City, and we're starting to see that trickle into Finney County and Holcomb as well. There are still other tools in the tool belt, so to speak, related to housing, and some of those are being utilized. Special assessments is kind of the tool of the 90s, and that had been used previously. I think we've got one active project that has utilized that tool, but everything else really has been an RHID project. There are also a couple programs through the state that get utilized as well, so the Moderate Income Housing, or MIH, along with some tax credit programs. KHRC, the Kansas Housing Resource Corporation, is the state entity that helps facilitate processes related to those programs. And we've got a couple examples of projects in the queue that have utilized some of those tools. We included on here the Neighborhood Revitalization Program. That, again, is a tool. We are in the process of getting that tool updated because it's not very effective at this point in time. So you'll see something before you all later this year related to that particular tool. The rest of them on the list really focus on the commercial side of the house. I'm not going to go through those unless those are questions. I really want today to focus on housing and the RHID tool. So with that, we've got a couple different slides before you related to the housing needs within the community. So every couple years, the city partners with Finney County Economic Development to put together an updated, what we call a chat report. That chat report is a snapshot in time that tells us what the housing needs are in Finney County, Garden City, and Holcomb. This chart that you're seeing before you has come out of that most recent 2024 chat report. And in short, there's a lot of numbers on here, but in short, what that is telling us is that if we assume a 2% annual growth rate, which is the growth rate that we've experienced over the last couple years, 2 to 3 years, we can anticipate that we're going to need almost 4,000 new units, new front doors by 2035. That's a significant number of units in a relatively short amount of time. So that averages out to about 400 units per year, which you're gonna, spoiler alert for the upcoming slides, we are well short of producing that currently. We also, the governing body for the City of Garden City, has had a goal over the last several years, starting in 2020, that they wanted to accomplish 4,000 units by 2030. And again, you're going to see that we're going to be well short of that. But like I said, this really is a snapshot in time, taking a look at when this was produced, which was at the end of 2024, looking back. So this is a rear view mirror. So this doesn't account for empirical coming online. This doesn't account for any of the folks coming to Garden City and Finney County related to the Tyson packing plant that's going to close down here in a couple days in Emporia. So this doesn't account for any of that. It really is just looking back in time and saying, what is the shortage as of today? So as of the end of the year, that is what you're seeing reflected here. Now the next chart looks the exact same with couple small caveats, and that is this assumes a 1.28% annual growth rate. Why this is important, this is more of the historical growth rate that we've seen over the last 10 years. So if you kind of flatten out some of those ebbs and flows that you see over the course of 10 years, 1.28 is really what we've experienced over a longer term. And so here you can see we're still projected to be quite short, but it's not quite as bad. So if we take a look at these numbers and use this as our assumption, it's still demonstrating that we're about 2,400 units short, or about 240 units per year. If we jump over to the next slide, this is where you start to see what we've done over the last couple years. And so you can see, starting in 2021 through 2024, there's been some ebbs and flows. So we've been as high as 52 single-family units that receive a permit from us. So this is on the front end of the process when a builder comes in and says, we've got a lot, we're ready to go. You can see we've been as high as 52 units on the single-family home front, but as low as 32 units in 2023. On the multifamily side, a little bit more bang for the buck as it relates to multifamily. A lot of these, some of these go vertical, but typically we see smaller lot sizes. And so if we look at number of front doors per acre, much more efficient use of space. So you can see again, in 2022, we had 94 permits for multifamily, and a lot of that is being driven by the Hunters Glen development. So those are quadplexes, and so when you see it reflected here, you get a count 4 units for each of those quadplexes that they start to build and construct. The next several slides we'll go through relatively quickly. This is a map showing kind of where in town both single-family permits have been pulled as well as multifamily permits. So the single-family permits you're going to see in red, multifamily is in green. And you can scroll through. This is 2022. The next one's 2023, so you can see a couple of those multifamily permits. And then if we jump over to 2024, you can see that's reflected in the chart that we just looked at. No multifamily housing permits were pulled. They were all single-family units. If we jump down to kind of take a look at the residential permits versus the certificates of occupancy, or COs, that's where you can start to see on the front end, they've got to pull a permit to start construction. They've then got to build the unit, and then on the back end, they get a certificate of occupancy, and that's what signalizes that home is ready to be moved into. And so you can see here when we actually look at the COs issued, we're falling a little bit further behind, and that's because it takes some time from the point that a permit's pulled to be able to go through that construction process and have it be a viable unit for somebody to move into. The other kind of caveat that I'll note here is in 2022, right, we saw a lot of those multifamily units with the Hunters Glen project. On the front end, it's a little goofy with how our system calculates it. We get 4 permits on the front end, but we only issue 1 certificate of occupancy on the back end. Not able to move into those units until the full unit is completed. So that's some of the discrepancy that you will see between that first chart and this one. All right, so these last 2 slides are the ones that we have printed out for you in much bigger size, because as you can see, it's very difficult to read on the computer screen. But what we really are hoping to demonstrate with this is to show all of the RHAD developments that have been underway since the inception of this tool. So this tool's been around for a while. We've been using it here in Garden City and Finney County since about 2012. So you can see all of those developments spelled out here in this spreadsheet. And what I think is helpful about this is it will show you the number of units tied to each of those developments. It will show how many of those units have been constructed versus how many are still in the queue. So we've got about 1,200 units in the queue, which is fantastic. But if you take a look at how many have actually been constructed, we're still well short of that, for a variety of reasons. You can see which years those were built out, and then finally with kind of the hash marks at the end, you can see when we anticipate those RHADs to expire. So RHAD is really kind of like a tax increment financing, but on the housing side of the house. And so those dollars can be used to build that infrastructure. And so the developers can only be reimbursed for those eligible expenses related to that infrastructure. So this is showing either when the time boundary is anticipated to be hit, or all of those eligible expenditures that can be reimbursed to the developer have been hit. Whichever of those 2 things comes first is what gets reflected here. So you can see in the next couple years, we anticipate some of those RHADs starting to roll off, which means from a taxing entity perspective, all of those property taxes will then come back to each respective taxing entity. So the nice thing about having these kind of spaced out over the several years is that those kind of when they come back online in full for all of the taxing entities starts to kind of trickle in here over the next couple years. And then if we go, this is kind of the last slide of the formal presentation. If you want us to walk through all of the different housing developments, we can do that quickly. Doesn't look a lot different than the presentation last year, but if you would like us to do that, we'd be more than happy to. But again, this map kind of shows you where in town all of the approved RHIDs are. So we made a couple kind of slight tweaks to this. You can see in kind of the light blue, those are all of the approved RHID districts in town. And again, those have to go through a process at the local level. Then they have to get approved by the state of Kansas. Once that happens, it will show up as light blue as it relates to this map. Once they start to pull permits and are actively working on construction, it shifts over into the dark blue. So you can see that we've got a couple active RHID projects that are building out right now. The yellow is those projects that are completed. So we've got a handful of RHIDs that are completed. They're fully built out. And those are the ones that we'll start to see kind of trickling off. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. We do have about 40 more slides if you all want us to go through them that kind of walk through each of the developments, kind of where they are with their site plan, the number of units tied to them. If that is of interest to you, I'd be happy to kick it off to Alicia. But typically when we give this presentation to you all, we stop the presentation here and just take questions, unless there's a desire to hear more.
I think we'll ask questions, commissioners.
Just this past weekend, I was in Johnson County, and it's obvious there you see all kinds of recent development, current projects being built, and also current developments being the infrastructure done. I'm wondering, what is the hindrance here to getting, and those are a lot of multifamily, well, a lot of single family too, but
Yeah.
what's our hindrance here to get on the same level like what they've got going on there, getting these complexes built?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is we've got a lot of projects in the queue, which is fantastic and wonderful, but then they've got to get built. And so I think we've got builders here that have a long, long list of projects that they've got on their list and are working through. And I think they're continuing to do that as quickly and efficiently as they can. But I think that is one of the things that when you're in a major metro area, it's pretty easy for some of those big companies to kind of do some work in Johnson County, do some work in Wyandotte County, do some work on the Missouri side of the house as well. And they've got these big, huge, massive crews. Whereas out here, if any of those crews come out, they've got to mobilize a pretty significant project to be able to make that work financially. And so we've got tremendous builders here, and they are working away, but they've got a very long list of projects that they've got in the queue. And I think they're making good headway, but I think it's just the lack of people and folks out here that are able to do some of that work. So we're just seeing a little bit of that backup happen.
Is there anything that we can do, the governing boards of Garden City and Finney County, to encourage additional work crews or whatever to kind of help us catch up?
I think as we continue to see some of these big developments kind of come online and start to get underway, I think all of that helps. I think some of the work that we're doing that you all are doing with the community college to build up the trades, and all of those things are kind of major touch points along the process that I think we're making good headway on, but it takes many, many years for some of those things to really see the fruits of those labor. So I think my perspective on this is continue to do those things, continue to have those partnerships, continue to bring these things, because I think that helps bring some of that capacity that's needed to really have some of those efficiencies gained.
Well, if there's anything that we could do to help speed that process up, I'd like to hear. So if you have any thoughts or ideas, or any of your partners on that line have any thoughts about anything, I certainly would like to hear about them.
Sounds
See
good.
if there's any help that we can do as a board or the city board or whatever to kind of help speed up that process to get the construction crews in here that we need to help get these developments going.
Yeah, that sounds good. We'll give that some thought and let you know.
Anything else?
I have a question.
Commissioner
Danielle,
German.
can you tell me, have all of the COs been issued on Hunter's Glen, or are there still some construction going on?
There is still some construction going on. So that is a multi-phase project. So they've got phase, yes, 3A and 3B. That is coming online here pretty quick, and we're going through all of the processes related to that. Some of the quadplexes have been built, COs have been issued for that, but you'll still see 3 or 4 additional phases coming out of that project. They're going to try to run 2 of them concurrently, and then you'll still see 2 additional phases beyond that.
And how many more units will that be, do you know?
I'm going to let Alicia answer that before I give you the wrong number.
It's on your sheet that we have here, but 3A will have 44 units, and then 3B will have 68 units. So again, you'll see a combination of quadplexes and duplexes for those phases.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Utes?
Yes. Good morning, Danielle.
Good morning.
Good seeing you again.
Yes.
And great presentation. First question is, how are we comparing to the housing needs in Garden City versus Liberal and Dodge, and comparison on getting them built versus our 2 sister cities?
That's a great question. I'd have to go back and do a little bit more research on the housing needs side in both Dodge and Liberal. I'm not sure that I have that kind of offhand. What I would say is, when it comes to housing, it is a need across the entire state of Kansas. Anytime we go to our annual or quarterly conferences, housing is one of the major things that gets talked about. That's part of the reason why you're seeing all of that growth in Johnson County. And so it's a need that we are all struggling with, which is why I think you see some of these tools coming out of KHRC to help facilitate some of that development. So I'd have to go back and look at kind of their need, how they're doing, what their version of a chat report looks like. But I'd be happy to do that and get something back to you guys.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions, commissioners? I have a policy statement that I'd ask for the planners and yourself, Danielle, to consider in RHID applications. And of course, you know, we have our input as in the county on these. But as you stated, the local taxing government units don't receive any funds for an extended period of time on these RHID developments. That money goes back to the developer and not for available services, correct?
We still receive the base amount that has been tied to that property, but yes, the incremental portion generated by the development is going back to the developer for the cost of that infrastructure.
The land only, correct?
It depends when the base is set for the particular project, but generally speaking, yes.
The people that occupy our growth and the services that are demanded of both city and county government are then absorbed by the other remaining taxpayers. And so while RHID is fun for developers and it helps stimulate growth, it's an investment by taxing entities and it's an investment by the community and other taxpayers of that tax shift burden. I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't have TIFs. I just think that each of them should be carefully examined for that proper balance between the shift that occurs as services are required. When I look in this room today, I see EMS and fire, roads, and other things that are called upon to service the people in those units without significant benefit to the funding of that cost. So let us be mindful of that as we consider a new TIF that's underway right now. At least there's a lot of them coming, and those are widely used. And as you can see from our graph, we've used them really well. And the fun part is that starting in 2027, some of those TIFs expire, and that money will go on the tax roll. Particularly to the county. Last year, our usable tax base fell approximately $500,000. So while the total valuation in the county improved to well over 600 and some million dollars, what was available to fund the wages of the important and essential government services was less. At some point in time, those two collide. And I want us all to be very mindful of that as we use this as a way of increasing our availability and growing. And it is an investment. I like investments. I just want to be cautious in our use of them so that we are getting the benefit of growth, but also the cost of services being adequately provided. That's a remark from the chair. I guess I probably should have done that on chair comments, but anything else or any final remarks, Danielle? You wish to be heard?
Lana Duval, again, Finney County Economic Development Corporation. Just a quick reminder, though, when we are doing our HIDs, we are investing in the future, but we are also assuming that additional revenues come with those individuals. So when we create housing opportunities for new folks to come into our community, take jobs that are currently open here, we are going to have increases in sales tax revenues from their shopping here, and our businesses have increases in their GDP by having staff available to them. So certainly understand your comments, Commission Chairman, but it's a bigger picture than just simply real estate value and housing. There's also other benefits that come with having that growth. So just a reminder, if it was as simple as lining up.
We're going to spend more money here. I understand that, and sales tax is an issue, and it's going to be an issue in the future because this commission is going to go to the people. A bill was filed last week for a 0.5-cent sales tax. And new growth in our community is vitally important, and sales tax dollars are vitally important to what we are trying to accomplish with the construction in the county, and I appreciate your comments and input. Any questions for Lana?
Thank you.
Thank you. Danielle, anything in summation?
No, I appreciate being able to be here and talk about this. Like I said, this has really been the way that housing's been developed over the last 10 years, and so it's been a vitally important tool, and we recognize that you all are critical partners in all of that. So I appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Next on our business agenda is to hear from Paul with regard to the declaration of an emergency in our county, and we had some cleanup on the resolution.
Paul Resley, Finney County Emergency Manager. And just clean up on the declaration from the fire here a couple weeks ago. We got it all cleaned up, and as far as I know, got everything done out there. Wildlife and Parks is still got some damage to their fences and stuff that they're gonna be repairing, but everything else is taken care of, so.
Any questions for Paul on the declaration? For our new commissioners, an emergency proclamation is made by the chair to assist Paul at the time the event occurs so that he can call in additional resources under the Emergency Management Act. So did we already approve the resolution 06-2025, or do we have it ready for?
We did not, so we'll need to adopt resolution 06-2025.
Do we have it today?
I do.
All right.
That's just for the chair to sign.
The resolution states area emergency declaration on the 24th day of January 2025. Be it therefore resolved by the Board of County Commissioners that a state of local emergency in Finney County, Kansas declared on the 24th of January 2025 shall continue and remain in effect in accordance with potential and or anticipated state and federal financial assistance initiatives unless terminated earlier, that the response and recovery aspects of all local disaster plans which are applicable to Finney County, Kansas, and shall initiate the rendering of aid and financial assistance guidance thereunder. that any rights or powers lawfully exercised or any actions taken pursuant to local disaster emergency plans shall continue and have full force and effect as authorized by law, unless modified or terminated in the manner prescribed by law. Resolved by the board this third day of February. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 06-2025?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's a stereo second. Choose between the two of you who seconded this motion.
Vicky's got it.
Vicky seconded the motion. Is any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Sign the
We appreciate our surrounding agencies. I think we had 4 that brought in, and our local guys, they did a heck of a job out there too, getting everything taken care of in a timely manner, so. And then big thanks to our Public Works Department and the extra water and their heavy equipment too, so. We were able to mitigate it down to about 300 acres, so that seems like a lot, but it could have been worse, so.
I was on my way home from, I think it was up in Great Bend area, and I appreciated the communication that got put out because I was able to divert my path coming home, so.
Yeah, the fire and cities PIOs folks do a heck of a job keeping everybody posted on what's going on around here. And then, of course, we had KDOT out there and they were directing traffic, so we had a lot of folks involved with it. So we had the highway tied up pretty hard out there, so, but we got the word out to where people were doing pretty good, so.
Thank you.
So, all right, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Can I have the consent agenda back folder over there on Larry's desk? Next, we'll consider a cereal malt beverage license for Maverick Inc. Dory.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dory Munyon, Finney County Clerk and Election Officer. Maverick Inc. applied for a 2025 cereal malt beverage license, and they have met the necessary licensing requirements. All of these CMB license applications are handled by the city or the county clerk where the business establishment is located. So today we're asking that you authorize the issuance of the 2025 cereal malt beverage license to Maverick Inc. Your other alternative would be to decline to authorize the issuance of that and direct staff as to alternative direction. We would recommend that you issue the 2025 cereal malt beverage license to Maverick.
Questions for the clerk? My question is that we have 2 locations going up. Did they,
So this one would be for the one outside the city limits. That's the one that you are authorized to approve. I would assume that the one inside the city limits would go to the city clerk.
all right, any other questions for the clerk? Commissioners, a motion to approve the license as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the cereal malt beverage license for Maverick Inc. at their number 776 location, 50 East Acroway Avenue. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll sign the license.
Thank you.
Next on the business agenda is Resolution 525, fee schedule for Northwest Industrial. Mr. Administrator.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is a resolution that is establishing a fee structure, county fee structure for the Northwest Sewer System. This is a system that is currently, that is not a district as of yet, but it allows for the Board of County Commissioners to establish a sewer rate within that service area. County took that system over approximately 2+ years ago, 2.5 years ago, made numerous improvements, close to $1 million improvements on that. This currently, the cost of this system is being absorbed into the Public Works operating and also using some of the America Recovery Funds as well to keep it operating This is establishing the rates very similar to what we're using with the actual sewer districts, which you have 3 of within the county. The third page does have the rates on it, which is the fee schedule based upon the water usage, connection fees, and so forth. Are very similar to the same as what the other districts are at this point in time.
Okay, question, excuse me, sir.
No, once, it also identifies in section 11 that these funds will be placed into a Finney County Northwest Sewer System Fund, deposited for its operations. It'll be budgeted then in '26 during your budgeting process, so that it'll be used then for '25. We'll continue to spend money out of the American Recovery Funds for its operations, and the Public Works until we begin 2026 then.
Questions for the administrator on the reason and adoption of Resolution 05-2025?
No question.
All right. If there aren't any questions, motion to approve Resolution 05-2025 as presented for the proposed sewer district number 4 charges for the Northwest Sewer System.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve Resolution 05-2025 as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're at a point in our agenda that we need to amend the agenda to include an opportunity to visit with a lady from Raftellus with regard to a community scan, and commissioners, we need to amend the agenda to include it, and then see if we can get her on the phone.
I move that we amend the agenda. Excuse me.
Move the agenda to include the discussion about Raftellus on a community, business scan of the county services.
Yes, sir.
And as your second, sir?
Yes, sir.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll now hear from Raftellus. And Madam Counselor, were you able to get a hold of her so that we understand the scope of our discussion this morning?
I did send her a message, and she indicated that she understood that. I don't know if she's on yet or not.
I believe she is. She is on the Teams meeting, so I think we're ready.
Okay, all right, very good.
Able to hear me?
We can, thank you. Good morning and welcome to our meeting. Would you please introduce yourself and your company and the proposal with regard to organizational scan services for Finney County?
Absolutely.
One of the reasons why this was pulled off the agenda for presentation was because it included some numbers. And I think that we need to hear from you on your presentation and then determine whether we want to waive our normal procurement practice for this size of an expense. So please proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. My name is Michelle Ferguson. I'm an executive vice president with Raftellus. Raftellus is a local government and utilities management consulting firm. We are based on the East Coast and we have offices all across the country. Our focus is on working with local governments and utilities across the country to provide a wide variety of services, including organizational assessments, executive recruitment, financial studies, rate studies, as well as technology, strategic comms, strategic planning related services. In the conversations that I've had the opportunity to have with the county, our firm is skilled at working with local governments, counties and cities in particular. We've got experience working in Garden City over the last several years in providing a variety of services for the city. But what our firm and our team in particular specializes in is in organizational assessments or organizational scans. And what that includes is understanding your goals and objectives for the services that you provide your community and ensuring that the organization is appropriately staffed and resourced and aligned to meet those core services and core objectives that you have for the organization. Our work involves including feedback from the employees who are doing the work. Our experience tells us that 9 times out of 10, actually probably more than that, the employees who are actively engaged in serving your communities are the ones that have the best ideas for ways to enhance service delivery and become more effective and efficient. So what we like to do in work and organizational assessments like this is to begin our work by talking with employees throughout the organization to get their perspective on the work that they do. And we also spend time with each of the elected officials as well to get their perspective, your perspective on the community. And oftentimes we also engage with the community as well to understand their perspective about the services that they rely on from the county. And then through a series of best practice research as well as analysis that we do of data that your organization provides, we work with you to identify opportunities to enhance the level of service that you provide to the community, given your individual resource constraints as well as organizational structure and practices. And so ultimately what we provide is a series of recommendations and an implementation plan in order to ensure that those recommendations actually turn into actionable items within your organization to see positive improvement. We like to build on a strong foundation and look for those opportunities to enhance your service delivery, enhance overall organizational performance, efficiency, and effectiveness. So that's a very high-level overview of the type of work that we do. And Mr. Chair, I'm happy to provide any additional information that may be helpful or certainly answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Michelle. I'm going to turn it over for questions from the commissioners, and then we'll take up this issue.
Commissioner Kevin Basque, in your study, would that include wage and benefit study and recommendation, also a study and recommendation on recruitment and retention of staff?
I'm sorry, I think it was cutting out a little bit. I think you said recruitment of staff. Is that accurate?
I was asking if the study would include a wage and benefit study as well as a recommendation for recruitment and retention of staff.
Our work does not include specific salary studies. That is not a service that our firm provides. In our experience, we know that that is a unique skill set, and we appreciate that is not one of the skill sets that we have in terms of specifically looking at your compensation plan, your compensation structure. We don't provide salary surveys or salary studies in that regard. However, what we do is in the course of conducting an organizational assessment, we do look at your recruitment practices to ensure that they are, again, aligned to the values that you have for your organization and that are helping to recruit and retain the best and most talented staff for your organization. So we will look at your practices as it relates to recruitment and retention, but we do not look at individual salary levels or your compensation structure.
Thank you.
Commissioner Utes.
Thank you. Good morning, Michelle. Mike Utes, Commissioner. 2 questions. One is, does part of this include looking at job descriptions? And the second is, will you look at the organizational chart of the entire entity of the commission, of the county to include each department to make sure that the span of control is relevant and supportive of the needs for leadership.
Yes, in short answer, as it relates to organizational structure, absolutely. That's a core component of an organizational review that we do. We will look at the overall structure of the county, your various departments and your functions. That often includes looking for opportunities where there may be duplication of services or perhaps there may be some gaps in services. But we also employ best practices as it relates to span of control, both from an organization-wide perspective, looking at the different functions that the county provides, ensuring that you're providing the core services that you're obligated to provide, as well as looking within individual departments at the overall span of control within the departments to make sure that it's reasonable in order to provide the level of service that your community expects. You also mentioned job descriptions, and as a routine practice, we also look at core job functions and job descriptions. One of the core questions or key questions that we'll ask in the beginning is understanding what data is available, and that may be things like job descriptions. We often look at how recently or what your practice is for reviewing and updating job descriptions, because we know that the key capabilities for positions change, as well as the core competencies for positions change. And so, again, we don't assess an individual's performance, but we do assess the structures that you have in place to ensure that employees have clarity about their expectations for their roles, and that includes job descriptions.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Gurman?
Commissioner Vicki Gurman here. I have had the opportunity to visit with Michelle along with County Council, and so I'm somewhat familiar with what we're looking at doing. It seems like this would be something that the county would be, I think it would be advised that we do something like this and just kind of look at the procedures, especially as we are losing our administrator, and just going forward to see how we would like to proceed. Raftellus also would be able to help us in an executive recruitment should we desire to utilize them for that. So just to make everybody aware.
One of the things that's on our consideration today is whether we as a commission want to waive our normal procurement process for services of this size, or whether or not we want to send this proposal out for request to the public at large to be received, and then choose from whoever responds to an RFP. So, commissioners, that's really what we need to accomplish today, of whether we want to send this out for RFPs or whether we want to waive that and authorize the chair or the counselor to incur the cost of the scan from top to bottom. I have talked with one elected official, and I don't think we'd have any trouble including all of the elected offices in this scan. I won't speak for the other four, but I think it'd be critical to have the scan include all the elected offices, would it not, Michelle?
It's certainly an important opportunity as you look at the full structure of your organization to include all of those leaders, really to understand their perspectives, but also because they certainly rely on services of other county departments, particularly your internal departments, and so their perspective is really important in an organizational assessment like this.
All right.
Jerry.
Yes, sir.
Vicki, during your conversations with Michelle, you mentioned the executive research as well as the scan. Are we talking one package or two separate?
That would be separate.
Okay. So we have two separate.
Correct. If we're going to use their services for our search for a new administrator,
Right.
that would be a second contract.
Right.
And the real issue today is whether we want to send it out for RFPs according to our procurement requirements, or whether we want to waive it today.
My thoughts, I think this is a very needed process that we need for the county and to help our taxpayers get the best bang for their buck. Whether we need to move positions around, add positions, this is well overdue. I've seen this before, been engaged in this. The fire chief as well. We've been involved in these type of things, and there's a benefit. However, I do think that we have a purchasing policy that says after a certain amount that we should do an RFP on this type of situation, this potential cost. And I think that we should lead by example. If we're asking our department heads, our elected officials to follow an RFP or an RFQ process, when the expense is going to be after a certain amount, I think we should lead by example and follow that. And I think Michelle's organization and the package that she sent is exemplary. And I'm very, very well impressed with it. However, I think just by leadership, we should lead by example and follow that.
Commissioner Maskey?
If we go the route that Commissioner Utes is proposing, I would hope that we could turn the RFPs around very quickly so that we could choose a company to do both of these, and so we can make a decision and get these projects done as soon as possible.
Chairman.
Sure.
We don't know what the cost is for the executive research, which may fall under the needed of an RFP for that. So I don't know what that cost looks like. So that's something for us to consider, and or if Robert can give some insight on that.
Do you have any, what we really want to get around to is a request for proposal on the executive scan. Would a 3-week turnaround be okay to send that out and then have answers back so that we could choose somebody on our when is our first meeting in March?
March 3rd. Yeah.
So if we could have it back by the 21st or whatever it is, before the agenda goes out for the 3rd, and then choose a company on March 3rd for both the executive scan and the search,
Okay.
administrator search.
Okay. Two separate. Okay. Very good.
But obviously, Michelle, you have the foot up on folks because both Commissioner Gurman and I have appreciated the time that you've put into this and your presentation and your time this morning. But I'm thinking that a majority of the commission is going to want to make sure that we lead by example, which is to follow our procedures on procurement. And as a former commissioner, you ought to know that.
Absolutely.
All right. So,
Would you like a comment from me?
yes, I would.
I agree. I think we do need to lead by example, and, kind of conflicted on that, wanting to get things moving as quickly as possible with the knowledge that we're losing our administrator. However, I think that the wise thing to do would be to follow the protocol and look for an RFP for each portion of that.
All right, having said that, is there a motion to send out RFPs for the total project scan and for the recruitment services for an executive?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to order the administrators send out RFPs for the total organizational scan and RFP for assistance in search for administrator. Is there any further discussion or any other input, Robert, that we need to have into that motion?
No, we're fine on that. Yep.
All right, very good. And we'll get to budget issues on March 3rd with regard to our auditors listening in on us. Without any further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll take this up March 3rd. I'm confident, and we look forward to your proposal, Michelle, in response to our RFP.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, and we appreciate your time this morning and your presentation. It's very thorough.
Thanks, Michelle.
All right. We have a need for an executive session during the business part of our meeting because after the executive session, it may require action. As recommended by the administrator, we'll take that up. So is there a motion to amend the agenda to include an executive session, to include council and the administrator in that executive session, and how long will we need, Madam Counselor?
I'm not sure how long you want the discussion to be on that one. You need 15, 20 minutes?
20 minutes. All right, well, we'll take it up in two different motions. First, motion to amend the agenda to include an executive session for non-elected personnel and for advice of council.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The agenda is amended now for an executive session for the purpose of non-elected personnel and attorney-client privilege for a period of 20 minutes to include the administrator and council. Is there such a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Could we please clarify, is it non-elected personnel or consultation with an attorney?
Both, because we're asking both of them to go. You'd rather have only one?
I believe the motion needs to specify the purpose, so,
Well, it was both.
okay.
We're going to discuss both. I don't want to do two executive sessions. Madam Counselor, do you think we should bifurcate the executive session?
If you have two different topics that you're needing to discuss that aren't related, you will have to do two different executive sessions.
All right, we'll go back and ask for amendment of the motion to include only the issue of non-elected personnel in executive session 1. Ms. Gurman, Commissioner Gurman, would you amend your motion accordingly?
Yes, I will amend my motion to be executive session for up to 20 minutes for non-elected personnel.
To include the administrator and counselor.
Yes, sir.
And the second amended also, Commissioner Utes?
Yes.
All right, before us is the motion as amended. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're in executive session for 20 minutes with the people included. We'll be back before 10 till 10. executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, go back into regular session from executive session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll confirm that no action was taken during executive session. We need to have a second executive session with the same participants and add Gary Meager for a period of 10 minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to go into executive session to discuss non-elected personnel for a period of 10 minutes. Any further discussion? And include the participants as listed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll be back at 10 o'clock. discussion?
I so move.
Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're back in regular session. No action was taken. With regard to the position of an assistant administrator on an interim basis, is there a motion to approve a contract with Mr. Gary Meager to take up the position as interim assistant county administrator until March 3rd, and then be the interim county administrator commencing on March 3rd, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and the terms of the contract will be in writing and as approved by the county councilor for terms as set forth in the proposed interim agreement. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. I want to state that Robert Reese has worked with us closely in this arrangement with Gary Meager. Gary is the former administrator in Reno County. In fact, Randy Partington left Finney County to go to Reno County to replace Gary. Gary does consulting work for counties and other municipalities here in Kansas on an interim basis, subject to the terms of the written contract to be determined by the county councilor and signed by me. The compensation for Gary will be similar to what we are paying Robert. The taxpayers will incur some additional cost during this interim basis, but we're going forward that the cost of transition in this manner is in the taxpayer's best interest, and obviously in the best interest of the employees who actually do the work of the county. During this interim basis, Mr. Reese, as the administrator, will be the person in charge and will carry out the duties of administrator in consultation with the assistant interim, Mr. Meager. In the event of dispute, I'm sure that the two of them will bring the commission to order to assist. But in the meantime, county employees and other department heads to whom answer to the administrator will be answering to Mr. Reese. On March 3rd, we'll have a changeover in authority and power at that time. Mr. Reese will continue to serve the county in the capacity of a consultant and in his regular contractual duties, subject to the revisions that have been announced here today, so as to complete his term through March 25th with all the benefits and privileges of that contract. Thank you for your assistance in helping us in this transition. We appreciate it. Anything else from the commissioners on that issue? If not, then we will get back to our agenda and staff reports. Chief?
Good morning, Commissioners. Due to a longstanding meeting on Mondays, I don't normally do the updates. Training Officer Smith does, but I wanted to welcome the new commissioners here and show my face and say hello. So kind of what we do on the monthly overview is just go over the incidents, the 35,000-foot view of the fire department and what's going on in the 7 townships that we have in the county. So kind of going over December's monthly report, we had the Angel Tree, which is a longstanding tradition with the fire department. And it's partnerships with the Salvation Army and Sam's Club, adopting some families through the holidays and providing gifts and a meal for the families in need. We also did the bell ringing. That was a joint fire EMS and PD and SO. We're not going to mention who won that one, but one of these days we're going to win it. We also did Wreaths Across America, which is upwards of 1,200 wreaths that were delivered to the cemetery and put on veterans, first responders' graves. It's a really nice program that we joined several years ago. We had the long-standing Christmas breakfast where all the first responders came over to the station, and we were provided food and camaraderie with other responders. So. We also received a grant in December for smoke detectors, so any community within Finney County can apply for smoke detectors or CO detectors, and just come see us at the fire department, and we work through that process of application and installation of the smoke detectors. So the call volume in December, no calls in Garfield. We had 2 in Pleasant Valley. Terry Township didn't have any. Sherlock had 5, Pierceville had 4, and Garden City Township had 28, and Ivanhoe had none. Still standing strong at 8 calls per day. Our average response time are 2 minutes, and due to all the events that are going on, the training hours are down a little bit. So that's it for December's monthly update. Kind of going over the yearly update for the fire department, kind of going through our fire safety outreach program. So that's kind of October, November-ish, where we go to the schools and provide fire prevention and education to the schools. It's kind of a big month, upwards of 3,000 to 4,000 kids come through the fire station, and we also have contact with them in the schools. So kind of some operational developments through that too. We had a couple deployments to various places in our wildland task force team, Mount Rose and some local ones, and then Tech and Rescue team was dispatched to help several other regional partnerships throughout Kansas. Of course, Station 3 is one of the infrastructure updates. It is showing about 15 weeks ahead of schedule. Shows a turnover date of April and May. Could be the end, could be the first. So we'll start moving in there. Construction's going good, budget's on track, staffing's been hired. Everything's went off without a hitch, so doing really good there. So looking forward to getting that done and open. Kind of some community engagement, the Honor Guard tournament, always a good thing. The Fallen Firefighter Museum Memorial that we attend, national and state, we attended. A really good turnout for muscular dystrophy this year. Wound up finishing 4th in the state, just under the metros. But Garden City is a giving community and put us in the top 5. So really good deal for that. The open house that we shared with county and city employees was a highlight of the year. A lot of turnout. People get to take a look at everything that we offer as a fire department and or any kind of first responder agency. The grant I already mentioned. We did have one retirement this year. Battalion Chief Southern retired, and Adam Patterson was promoted to Battalion Chief this year. So going on call comparison from 23 to 24, you can see that the fires are up a little bit, from 78 to 124. Our alarms are up from 76 to 114. We did have a reduction in callbacks. And the car accidents were 283 to 311 for 2024. Kind of total call volume would be 2,900 hours, just shy of 3,000. Our callback to our station was 35, and then overlapping incidents was just right under 1,300. Big thing to mention is the training hours that we put in, just shy of 12,000. If we're not running calls, we're training for the calls. So that's anywhere from incident command at the higher levels down to the operational boots on the ground. So making sure everybody's receiving the training, so in the event of an incident or a disaster, we're ready to go. So hope I didn't talk too fast, but I'm here for any questions. If there's anything you wanted to see or know about the fire department, please let myself or training officer Smith know, and we can provide any kind of documentation or update on anything that goes on. So,
Chief, thanks for coming over and meeting the new commissioners and providing the detail in the report. The call comparison makes me grin that, yes, you have more work to do, but it's because we have more people.
Mm-hmm.
And the growth in our community is reflected in the services that need to be provided. And we ask for your continued leadership in the fire department, as well as being the chief fire official here in the county. Thank you very much. Questions for commissioners?
I have a
Go.
question, Chairman. Chief, I just want to say that I hear excellent comments in the public about your response time, so I appreciate that.
you're very welcome.
I appreciate your efforts to continue that level of service. That's wonderful. Question about the smoke detectors and
Yes.
CO detectors. Do you get a lot of utilization on that?
Yeah, so we operate several programs. There's a state one, and other, like a Home Depot grant, and then this community grant foundation that's here, Home is Here. So we ran out last year, and she came by and updated us that she had some extra money. So several programs that we do, some are income-based, some are not. So just fitting the needs of the person that needs the help. coming in and then sitting down with the fire marshal, and we identify which grant that they're gonna go with, so.
Excellent. I think that's a
Yes.
really good program, and if there is a shortfall on that in the future, you might let us know.
Will do, thank you.
Chief, on your report, it says average dispatch to turnout time, turnout to arrival. What is your turnout time? What's that?
So turnout is the initiation of the call, guys get dressed, trucks out the door is the turnout time. Turnout to on-scene time is the whole window.
Oh, the
Yeah,
entire
yeah,
window.
Yeah, from dispatch to on-scene and starting to mitigate the incident. The 2 minutes is kind of finishing in the 90 percentile of the state, so we're right on target for that. Like to see more, like to see a 1 instead of a 2, just moving that. That's just an average, middle of the night versus during the day, so.
And on a positive note, I too applaud you and your leadership in the fire department for your community engagement. It has been outstanding. And you know, I have a personal touch with muscular dystrophy, and I greatly appreciate, and my family, my grandson has muscular dystrophy, the work that you and your folks do at getting out on those street corners to collect the money in the boot. And fourth in the state.
It's a big deal.
Outstanding.
Big deal.
Keep up the good work. And
Will do, sir. Got a great team. Lots of people to help.
Commissioner Baskin?
No comments.
All right. Chief, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
We'll next hear from Mackenzie Phillips on a development update.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Mackenzie Phillips, Development Administrative Coordinator. I don't have that many updates for you this morning. I do want to let you know that we did receive preliminary centerline elevations for Northwest Industrial District from our engineers. That it's very preliminary. It hasn't been field checked, but they did get that information over to us. We have scheduled second round interviews for the planner and planning tech positions. And then I wanted to let you know about it's the Southwest Kansas Highway Officials Annual Spring Meeting that will be coming up here soon. We have not gotten the schedule yet. Once we get that, we'll get it over to Dory so that she can pass that around to you. That is on March 19th, and that will be in Dodge City at their Expo Center. So during this annual meeting, we usually have representatives from KDOT, from the Local Technical Assistance Program, from KAC, the Kansas Association of Counties, that gives either legislative updates or updates to grant programs that are going to be coming up throughout the year, and technical training and so on. And so usually the representatives from the Road and Bridge or Public Works departments are there, as well as representatives from each of the commission members within the District 6 counties. So that we really encourage all of you to, or as many of you that can attend. Lunch and breakfast are provided during this, and it's not I don't think it's going to be the whole day this year, but it's going to be a majority of the day. So, and that's all I have for you.
Questions for Mackenzie?
Is there an invitation that we will see for that?
Yes, as soon as I get that, I'll send it off to Dory to get to you. So,
And what's the time frame on that?
it starts, I think it usually starts at like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and then I think it's going to probably get over maybe around like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So,
All right. Any other questions for Mackenzie? If not, thank you very much.
thank you.
County Councilor's report. Do you have anything for us, Madam Councilor?
I don't know that a lot's changed from last week. Still working through the new list of those possible tax foreclosure sale eligible properties. I did get those sent out to all of you so that you could see those. I have made some contact with some of those outside individuals that I knew that I could make contact with to try to get some of those cleared up, as well as some internal working on that with the clerk and the treasurer's office as well, and still just working through various contracts and projects.
All right, any questions for the counselor? All right. Administrators report, sir.
Okay, I'm passing down a summary that both the Director for EMS and Health Department prepared on some of the challenges of their facilities. I was asked to provide just a little bit of an update on background of those two facilities. For my update as well today, and I'm not going to read that off, but I will ask those two to come up here in a little bit and just kind of walk through some of the issues at hand that they've dealt with on that facility. As we go through the various listings of projects and things that are going on, we've got the jail LEC project that we're waiting for a date to be scheduled from the committee chair on that. So we're waiting for that to be done. This coming Thursday, we are on the Health Department EMS project. We're reviewing the bids on that with Hutton Construction. So we have that on Thursday afternoon. No update yet on the VRF system for the 4 buildings on that review and the costs associated with that. I'll rattle out Cage again this week. Elevator project over at the courthouse is complete. Treasurer's office project began last week, so they're doing a little bit of demo. Working on year-end transfers. That'll be something that you'll see before you on the 18th of February. Then, of course, what you've requested that we work on the RFPs today. We'll get going on that this week after this meeting. Back then on your Health Department EMS project, before you've got some summaries, if you will. And I just asked Skylar and Shruti to come up and just talk ever so briefly about their facilities. Once again, that was something that had been requested to just briefly touch on conditions and so forth. I know that some of the commissioners have been there in person and walked around both of the facilities. I think Health Department, they moved into theirs in the early 90s. It was a existing facility used for some other purpose, and I believe EMS was used for another purpose prior to them moving into it back around 2000. So it's had its share of wear and tears over the years. So I'll just go ahead and allow them to go ahead and just give a brief rundown of the things that they've had some challenges with, and you ask them any questions then.
All right, we'll hear first from Shruti, since the Health Department is on the front page. Good morning.
Good morning. Shruti Chabra, Finney County Health Department Director. So the Finney County Health Department building, we've been there since 1991, and yes, there's been wear and tear, and I'm not sure if the building was adequate to the population needs at that time, but over time, with the increase in population, it seems like we don't have sufficient space to accommodate new things that we are trying to do and keep up the operations that we already have. Most importantly, there are some structural and safety concerns. I've been, and I don't understand this very well myself, but from what I understand, there are some issues with the foundation due to which water collects outside the building and seeps into the building. And so we usually get flooding in the basement where we have the big operations, and the water goes all the way up to we have a waiting area, and then we have the front office, so water goes all the way up to that area. And then the elevator is not functional during those times. The water also comes into the clinical area where we have the nurses station and our main clinical rooms where we examine patients. So because of that, one, it is unpredictable when the flooding is going to happen. And second, whenever, and it happens very easily, whenever that happens, we have to, implement infection control protocols. We have to make sure that the environment does not become moldy, etc. Then both the front access and the employee access to the building are they get slippery when it's raining or when it's snowing and ice. So we've had people fall in that area. So there's those problems. The parking lot is not big enough. The employee parking lot is just there's no. It's I don't know how you say it. It's just a mud sand lot, whatever you would call it. And then there is parking space for clients, but if clients park a little bit far away, then they have to walk through a little bit more hazardous conditions on the sidewalk. I touched a little bit on the space limitations. Right now, we have clinical exam rooms, which are pretty small, and overall number of exam rooms and office space is insufficient for the amount of clinical operations that we have. Additionally, we do drive-through testing and vaccines, which we did a lot of during COVID, but we are trying to continue to offer those as seasonal influenza, etc. rise. We don't have dedicated facilities for those. And then inside the department, we have a TB room, but it does not really comply with the negative airflow workspace that is needed to make sure that people do not get exposed, and we can, direct a person who's infected straight to that area. We do not have enough space where we can organize educational programs or promotional programs for the public. We have health promotion and health education are one of our main duties, and we usually have to find space outside of the health department to do that. We do not have adequate storage for clinical supplies or educational and even pharmaceutical supplies. Our pharmacy is pretty limited. We only have some pharmaceuticals, and we mainly have family planning supplies. But right now, the space is insufficient to even store that much. We have a big program that we have is immunization. We have a pretty big vaccine refrigerator, but that is not big enough for the population needs, and we do not have an area where we could put a bigger fridge. So that sort of disrupts the being able to order enough vaccine supplies in a way that keeps us functional. Something else, we have the WIC program, which caters to women, infants, and children in the basement of the building. Again, there's no real ventilation in that area. We talked about retention and recruitment earlier, so it's a hazard. People do not really like to work there, we have an elevator that goes downstairs, but it does not function whenever there's an adverse weather event, and so it becomes inaccessible to the people who we need to serve. And then our heating, cooling systems, and our alarm systems, they are all in stages of disrepair.
All right, questions for Shruti?
Commissioner Kevin Basque, I've been a patient in that building and a department head attending several meetings in that building, so I certainly can appreciate your needs. So I will be on record as saying that I facility. I also want to be on record of saying how much I appreciate the work that public health does in our community and across the state, especially during the COVID event when I was sheriff and we had to utilize public health's assistance with some outbreaks that we had in the jail, and the unthankful work that you guys had to do during that time. So I'm in complete support of any enhancement for your operations, but also I'm a huge supporter of public health in general after observing everything, and plus you guys do provide our healthcare services for our inmates in the jail. At least you did when I was sheriff. I'm assuming you still do. And so I completely support public health in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Utes?
Sharice, good morning. I'm glad you brought this report to us because a lot of what I get from the public is, well, we go up the health department and I don't see a need for the building. It's kind of like what we're dealing with the law enforcement center, dealing with mold and things. So I think we need, again, be very transparent why we need to do this. And this is a good session to do this. I mean, when you're dealing with mold and the growth and that, the only thing is I'm the outside the box thinker. So have we ever thought about, when we were doing this project, I mean, there's no need. There's no doubt that there's a need here for your facility. This is not a want. This is a true need to have maybe 2 smaller health departments where you have one on one side of the city and the other on the other side to make it more feasible. And was that ever researched, or did we just say, hey, we need a new facility and this is what we're going to do?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm not sure about that.
Would you ever be open down the road for an outreach building somewhere?
I mean, I don't think that would be necessary in the sense that only part of our functions are clinical, and whether even if it is closer, even if a facility is closer to where you live, you still need some means of transportation to that. And I think transportation being an issue, or public transportation especially, if that issue is focused on, then just having one place of operations should be sufficient. And the other reason would be a lot of our work is done on an outreach basis. We do create teams, we go out to schools, we go out to the fairgrounds. So I think expanding some of that outreach work through our mobile clinic will also help us serve the people who don't have as much access. I mean, but I'm just speaking off the top of my head. I can research more and present that if needed.
I don't think there's additional research needed. Those were questions I was asked by several folks in the community that I think you explained it very well, and I as Kevin, support what you do up there and will be strongly behind your back on this one. Thank you.
Commissioner Gurman?
I had the opportunity to go visit the clinic. Shruti gave me a tour, and we spent a good amount of time discussing, what her operation involves and what the issues are. And I've seen these firsthand, and I would agree as well that a new facility is warranted for the health department.
I'd like to conclude by stating the summary in the obvious is that the new building is essential to meet our community needs, 2, to improve our staff, and we know how hard it is to do that, to improve the client experience, which is why we have public health, and 4, uphold safety and quality standards for the people that come there, work there, and for all of us in the community. Keep up the hard work, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll next hear from EMS Director. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Skylar Soares, the Director of Finney County EMS. I have a lot of the similar issues that Shruti has regarding the structure of the building. We are constantly dealing with water leaks. We've now determined, at first we thought it was roof, and we had the roof repaired. We still have some leaks that occur there. We have some foundational leaks, the same, where when we have any sort of significant precipitation, we have water that will seep into the building, and it will soak the carpets in office spaces and in the living spaces for the staff. So mold accumulation is a big issue for us. Additionally, we have bedrooms for the technicians when they stay overnight. 3 of them are internal. We have no dedicated fire suppression system for the building, and there's no external windows in those three rooms. So we have a potential safety issue there. I think this building was built in 1977, and we moved into it in like very early 2000s, and it's definitely showing its age. We've got lots of structural issues there, or aesthetic issues. And additionally, prior to this building, Finney County EMS was housed in a mobile trailer house on the parking lot of St. Catharines. So during the time here, we've not had a dedicated or station specifically designed for EMS. We have issues with our garage doors is an oversized garage door, and we are constantly repairing the operator for that. It's just not meant for that kind of use that we put to it. So. And we have some erosion problems on the north side of the building. That's actually eroding the earth foundation underneath the sidewalk. I have a parking lot that's in constant need of repair. Every year we're filling in potholes or cracks or something like that. And it just, the ice and the melting and freezing of water is constantly destroying the parking lot. We also have storage issues as well. Yeah, we just have a definite need for a modern, updated facility, also for recruitment and retention, to get people that when they see the station, they see this as an EMS station. This is a place where they want to come to work.
Questions, we'll go from right to left this time.
I also spent time with Skylar going through the facility, and I would agree. I think it is probably time that we stop trying to retrofit an old facility and move forward with this project.
Commissioner Baskin?
I have no doubts about your current building. I had the same thoughts that you did, even when you guys first moved into it and remodeled it. However, the one thought that I have is currently you guys are in the process of sharing a new building with the fire department on the east side. Was there any thoughts or considerations in approaching the city about locating in their other 2 stations your operations, thus not needing the new part of the building that has been proposed for the health department?
Okay, so are you asking?
So instead of building a new facility for you at 8th and Mary, locating the services into the other 2 fire departments, like, because you guys are going to be co-located on the new building on the east side. Is there any opportunity for you guys to share their other 2 fire department buildings with your ambulances and everything, or?
I think we'll run into some significant space issues if we try to do something like that.
But did you guys check into it to see if,
There was some brief discussion on that a little bit, and I don't think it ever got, I think it got kind of shot down pretty quickly after looking what it would mean on that and where we want to be located.
Okay.
Especially because, city's growing, our call volume is growing. We're running over 4,000 calls a year. Most of those are in Garden, so having 2 stations in Garden is necessary.
Do you guys still have the station in Holcomb?
Yeah, we do.
All right, Commissioner Hughes?
Good morning, Skyler.
Good morning.
I didn't go up there and take a tour because I've been up there several times. It was almost a second home back in the day, and it's outdated. There's no doubt. But I'm going to piggyback on what Commissioner Baskew talked about. I would like you to have that discussion with Chief, and just to see if it's feasible. Because from my perspective, that would give you 3 locations you can respond to and be able to respond maybe quicker, more accordingly. But I don't know if the space is there. But I think that is well worth that discussion. I don't know what agreement we'd have to have with the city, but we're doing it on the news station. I think it's well worth having that discussion just to see, are we being prudent with our tax dollars and would it work? I don't know if it would. I'm not the expert. Ask me about police. We'll talk about that. This is your ballywig, but I think it's worth that discussion to have. And then the second thing, finally, what are we doing with these two buildings if this project moves forward? I know it's not going to be your problem because you're going to be gone, Robert, but.
Well, nothing has been decided definitively, but what's anticipated for the current EMS facility is to utilize that for storage. We did not factor in any storage. We're not building new for storage. So what we anticipate utilizing that facility for is storage for Health Department EMS and emergency management as well. That way you're not spending tax dollars to construct new just to store stuff. And that will allow you to put a lot of items, especially in the emergency management, that has traditionally been outside under roof and under lock and key, and allow you to manage inventory better as well.
There is a command trailer additionally with that emergency management has. They also have a vehicle as well. We have a trailer that storage could keep them out of the elements and prevents things like sun rot and drastic temperature changes.
And how many ambulances are up there at the current station?
So we have 6 ambulances in our fleet. And so with the distribution, when all of the stations come up, we'd have 2 ambulances in each station.
Thank you.
Skylar, I want to conclude today by making some notes off of your presentation. The new modern facility will be the first ever real EMS facility that's designed and built for our community.
That is correct. And I mean, technically, it's going to be built after the joint one, but yes, essentially, as for a headquarters, it's the first.
Right, and 2 is that the joint facility has some features in it that the county probably couldn't have ever afforded without the wisdom of the taxpayers back in 2017, passing the sales tax that allowed us to construct that new fire station with the EMS facility. And I would encourage anyone who has not had a chance to see some of the unique and wonderful things that we're doing in Fire Station number 3 for the benefit of our community and EMS and our employees. It's not uncommon for our EMS and emergency management people to get exposed to harmful chemicals and other items. And we as a county didn't have a very good way or non-existent way of helping our employees recover from that kind of exposure. In the new fire station number 3, both the firefighters and our EMS personnel will have complete washdown stations, locker rooms, changing stations, bedroom facilities. There is nothing wrong with our community being the best in Southwest Kansas. And when we did the dedication ceremony for Fire Station number 3, my words were these: we have the best schools, we have the best economy, and now we have the best fire station and best EMS facilities because we're just simply the best. We have the best people. And I want you to know that I want you to continue to hold that standard because your outline says to uphold the required standards for our community. So lift them high, keep them high, and keep doing the important work because your business is saving lives. And I can't think of a more dedicated public duty than protection of our people through our first responders and saving lives for those people who are involved in emergency situations. It's a pleasure to pay a tax when we can impact people's lives in such a meaningful way. Keep up the hard work. Thank you. Anything else on the administrator's report, sir?
You did want to briefly discuss possible standardizing contact for the commission, electronic contact.
Right. It's been suggested to us that each of the commissioners should have their own laptops or other device, as well as a county email monitored by the county for record collection purposes. So with the administrator's permission, we'll hear from our RT guy. Please announce for the viewing public, and what can we do?
Doug Peters with Finney County IT. Usually it's some sort of standardized group email address, and then you'll have a county standard email address for each individual person. We use FICO for kind of the abbreviation for Finney County, so if you wanted to do something, we could do FICO commission@finneycounty.org, or really that group name is entirely up to whatever you guys feel is appropriate. That's just kind of an example. And then our standard username would be first initial, last name @finneycounty.org. That would fit for you guys individually also.
Well, I think that is one of the things that we need to decide as a commission, that's what we want to do as far as the purchase of the electronic devices. Do we have budget authority to do that out of the general fund and cash to do so?
Actually, Doug has already identified some devices to go ahead and repurpose for this purpose here.
We did just go through we're going through county rotation for some of the departments right now. We can take 5 of the best of the rotated out devices that are laptops that are very similar to like the one she's holding right there, that would be more than adequate for the use you guys would be using them for, I believe. That would be essentially a no-cost county thing.
All right, commissioners, we'll go from all the way to the end this time.
All right.
Well, it was my thought, my idea. So, and on the county email and electronic device, computer, laptop, what have you. It was mainly to be transparent and to protect each of our own personal emails that are being used. The research I did was that if there's an accusation of open records violation, then our computer, our entire device could be set to an in-camera hearing. And some of us have a lot of personal tax items and things on there that don't want to disclose. So I think it's that way too, is the county has access to our emails, and they can, if there's a request, it's my understanding IT could pull up our emails and send it to whoever wants to review. Is that correct?
We are responsible for completing open record requests, yes.
So I think it would just be easier to manage and protect us as a commission, and also protect us from any malware or ransomware or anything that might hit our personal devices. So I would suggest that we look at moving forward with this.
Commissioner Maskew?
I agree with everything that he said, plus a bigger screen to be able to see better than on my little phone. The attachments, the agenda, and all of that kind of stuff. It would be more helpful to have a bigger screen to look at all of that stuff. Plus, I just think that it helps us move forward in joining other professional organizations and commissions on how they do things as well.
Commissioner Garman?
No additional comments.
All right, motion to direct the administrator to repurpose 5 electronic devices for use by the commissioners, to have dedicated email to each commissioner.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Any input, sir?
Do you want those devices to be capable of doing anything else in terms of working here at the desk during commission meeting? I know there was discussion about eliminating your monitors here and perhaps using those devices to at the meetings.
Well, you're nice and tall, but for me, everybody gets to see me from.
There's a reason.
Because that'll make a difference on how Doug moves forward on.
I would like to be able to do that because currently right now, if there was any need to type something, I have no ability to type anything or whatever on this. But if we had a laptop with a keyboard and everything, it would, if needed, give us the ability or give me the ability to type something as well.
So it's in, this is something you would all have to agree on. I mean, it's a work process that you would need to agree on, that that's the way you want to moving forward.
All right, I also want to hear from the clerk on what's being published to the public and the commissioner's interface with the new devices. Will we be able to accomplish that?
As far as the actual agenda, is that?
Well, for instance, we get what the public's seeing right in front of us with the.
Okay, yes.
Will our laptops be able to see exactly what the public is seeing?
So I don't know that there's a way to connect those laptops to this computer so that Sam controls you wouldn't want that to, Sam to control what shows up. That's what these monitors are, is our person over in the corner here controls what shows up on these individual screens. You would be able to use your laptop then to go to any page of the agenda. He doesn't typically have anything that you don't have access to. In addition, our new agenda software that we just recently rolled out has a capability for the board to log in and actually see a kind of a different view of the agenda rather than just a PDF. And so I think if we experiment amongst all those things, that we can probably find a good solution. The agenda software offers you the ability to put notes right there as you're going through the meeting, and so it may be.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion?
I have one further discussion. Would this have the technology capability, say one of us commissioners was not present at the meeting, but had the ability to zoom in, say we were somewhere out of town for whatever reason, but we had the capability to attend the meeting by Zoom, is that something that we're able to do as a commissioner, or technology-wise, is that something we would have available to us with a laptop?
With your county email address, you will be connected to the county's Teams licensing. So the short answer is yes. It would still be reliant on you having internet access wherever you are, and a little bit of kind of work on your part, but yes is the technical answer there.
And then that's a follow-up question to the chair. Is that something that a commissioner would be allowed to do?
Well, I'm going to defer immediately to legal because our enabling statute doesn't have Zoom meetings.
Okay.
It's kind of like the bond. I punted that one really nice. Did you see that?
You did, and I'm gonna punt it off for another day so that we can do some actual research on that one.
But my problem is that, for instance, the community that doesn't have a website, and then you have the legislature that requires publication of a bond issue on both the county's website and in the legal publication newspaper. We run into problems if we allow participation by Zoom of commissioners when the statute doesn't authorize it, because our commission meetings are in person so far.
I just wanted to check.
Yeah, and that was along with my answer. Technically, yes, we have that ability, but I'll leave the response to you guys.
I greatly appreciate the county having legal counsel to check on these answers for us.
I'll go over here and I'll come back to you, Commissioner Yates.
I just have a comment as far as these monitors that we have before us now. I really appreciate having what everybody else sees out there directly in front of me here, especially on like the Zoom that we had this morning. It was nice to have it here in front of me. I think that could be challenging if we don't have these monitors.
And that would be up for you guys to decide whether you wanted to leave, a couple of them or do away with them entirely, or some other situation up there. We can make accommodations with that also.
For now, I think our motion is to authorize the work. Is there any fiscal cost to it at this point? No?
No, not with what you've discussed so far.
I do need to know what you guys do want for a group name, email address.
I don't think we want a group. I think we want individual commissioners.
But it would be both. You can have a group and individuals, or you can just have individuals. And sometimes if someone is trying to get a hold of, so.
I don't want questions to the commission generally on email.
Okay.
There's a couple of reasons why. One is legal. The commission cannot engage in email correspondence. We create open meetings and records issues, mostly meetings, to be exactly precise. So direct correspondence to commissioners is easily attached, and then the normal course on email communication anyway is it goes to an individual commissioner, usually referred directly to the administrator for response or action. And 9 out of 10 of mine so far in 2 years plus have all been about roads or somebody residing somewhere where they shouldn't. So long and the short is that I think we have individual email addresses, and that's the motion that's before us. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
When is the next meeting? 18th. Yeah, we can have them ready by the 18th.
Okay, well, what I'm looking at on that, Doug, is that agenda setting for the 18th is probably done on the 10th. Is that when our agenda meeting is? So it'd be nice to be able to have that available on the 10th. The agenda comes out and is published on the 11th.
Yes.
The clerk's been really good at getting those agendas done as long as people get the information to her so that she's not working into the evening hours on Tuesday.
Do you want the email addresses posted in the document?
On the agenda, I don't believe so.
No?
No, I don't think you have to put anything on the
Yeah,
agenda.
correct, okay.
No, I just think the email addresses should be on our profile in the
Right.
county stuff, and remove my personal Gmail. I don't need another email account. Bad enough the way it is. So, with that, does that give you clear instruction, sir?
I believe so.
All right, any follow-up goes to the administrator, please.
Well, I
Perfect.
have one question. Will that be on Outlook or?
Yeah, we do use Outlook. There's a web application version, and the device will have the local Outlook installed, but you will have web access also.
Okay.
I need it available on my phone. Is that a problem?
As long as you don't have any other Outlook installed on your phone,
I do.
then you'll have to see us and we'll have to show you how to work around that.
That's wonderful.
I've got like 3 Outlooks on my phone, so it's.
So I can handle it?
I got 3, you can do 2.
All right, but you're talking about Techno Zero.
Me too.
Yeah, right now, if there was school for Techno.
And Microsoft is going to hamper your ability to have multiples on one device in the future, in the very near future.
Thank you.
Okay, other good news?
I'll stop for the day.
Thanks,
Thank
Doug.
you, guys.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Administrator?
No, I did get a request to send out to the commissioners the drawings and plans for the health department. I'm still waiting, had one file that was pretty large, so still waiting to break that down and get that shipped out. So hopefully I'll get that yet today.
That bid work was done last week, was it not? And
Say it again, please.
when was that bid work done? Wasn't it done last week?
Yes, and we'll review that. The bids, Thursday afternoon is when that's scheduled, so that, the one commissioner and former Commissioner Drees will be meeting on that, as well as myself.
Right.
And
Commissioner Utes, you got the EMS building.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I even wouldn't mind you just making me a physical copy of the plans, just so I'm familiar with what it looks like you don't have to send it electronically. And it can
I
be
believe,
done.
would those have been included in the request for proposals that was published on our website? I just wondered if they could access them there.
Pardon me, I appointed Larry Jones to the EMS building, and in his absence, Commissioner Utes, could you sit in on that Thursday meeting?
This Thursday, I will be out of town.
Okay.
Volunteers then?
I can do it. I don't think I have anything going on Thursday.
What time Thursday?
It is at, I believe it's at 2 o'clock. And I can forward an invite to you if you're available at 2. I think it's from 2 to 4, I believe.
Yes, I'm available.
Okay.
Very good. Commissioner Jones is in San Antonio today, on his way. National Cattlemen's Association. I was advised by Representative Bob Lewis that the bill number is House Bill 1068. The draft will be sent to the tax committee, asking them to accept the draft. Once the bill is finalized by the revisor, it'll go to the floor to get a bill index number. The bill then referred back to the tax committee. At that point, Adam Smith will set a hearing date. This could take a couple of weeks, and it is an exempt committee, and we don't have turnaround issues or origin issues. So that's the good news that I received during our meeting today on the proposed half-cent sales tax for funding of the jail and LEC remodel. Anything else in your report, sir? All right, board governance, Madam Clerk.
All right, the one thing I did add to your calendar there is the KDOT public meeting on the K-156 shoulder widening. And I believe that is in both districts 1 and 3. So K-156. And so that would be
The meeting is going to be held out at
Calvesta.
and Commissioner Basque has graciously agreed to attend.
Perfect. The other thing I wanted to point out was that I provided you each with an email and invitation from Micah at the chamber regarding the delegation that's going to Washington, D.C. So there is information on there if you do plan to attend that by February 14th. She's going to need to know.
All right, well, let's take that up if we can. Does any of the commissioners or staff wish to attend the trip to Washington, D.C. to meet with the representatives? I am not available.
I'm not either.
What's the date of it again?
April 6th.
April.
7th.
Yes, April 6th, 7th, and 8th in Washington.
I don't have anything on my schedule.
April 7th is our first meeting, regular session here.
Just something to think about if anybody decides that they do want to attend, if you can let me know, I can get with Micah and make sure that we're included.
In the past, has the commission paid for the cost of representatives to attend that meeting?
Yes, and staff as well.
All right. And
Actually, and when we haven't sent anybody to that, we have provided a sponsorship to help with the costs for others that were able to attend.
who would be people that we would sponsor?
To help offset costs, chamber directors have opted to seek sponsorships. Any remaining costs not covered by sponsors would be divided among participating organizations. So I think it's kind of a pool resource for the costs of that event.
Robert, do you recall what we've done in the past on that?
I do recall that we did something, I just don't remember the number right off the bat.
Yeah, I don't remember the dollar amount. It was probably,
$1,000 or something like that, if I remember correctly, so.
Lana, do you have any information you might help us? Because I'm drawing a blank on the cost.
No, you're okay, yes. So that varies from year to year. The dollars, as Dory said, the sponsorship is for the event where we actually invite in staffers. So we do a morning briefing on Capitol grounds with the staffers from the U.S. Senator and Congressman's office, and we do a breakfast, continental breakfast type thing there. And then we do an evening reception where we're actually, usually the actual electeds are able to attend that evening reception with us. So the sponsorship, quote unquote, is to pay those costs. Individual organizations pay their own way to go to the event. So I think last year it might have been between $600 and $700 per sponsor is what we paid.
Thank you. So the authorization for expenditure, do we need to make it now? Or can we open it up and then pay for it when we know what the sign up is?
You could do an up to amount if you wanted to, if you're comfortable doing that.
Commissioners, what do you want to do?
On page 2 of the document that I provided, there are the different sponsorships.
Dory, when do they need an answer? When do
I
they
gave
need?
you guys a copy of that? By February 14th, we need to know if anybody's going.
I would like to go because there's some things I'd like to discuss on behalf of our county with our federal legislators. Not that it would do any good, but I would like to talk to them about some things.
Do you foresee anybody else from the county wanting to go?
Not that I'm aware of, no. No.
So you'll miss a county commission meeting.
He will miss the first meeting in April. Okay, I entertain a motion from the commission to have Commissioner Kevin Basque attend the meeting set in Washington DC, pay the cost and reimburse the cost or expense to Commissioner Basque to attend as outlined in the chamber flyer. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there a second? All right, and budget cash basis, there's enough money in general fund to cover this cost, Mr. Administrator? Yes. All right.
You do.
Well, the old saying is we have unlimited for commissioners. I just want to make sure our auditors are happy with us.
Yes, you have adequate.
All right, very good. You don't have a blank check, Commissioner Basque, according to the publication from the chamber and a chamber-sponsored event, and we thank you for your service to the community and carrying the message of the county to our elected officials in Washington. Is there any further discussion on the pending motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Kevin, you're going to Washington.
One way.
Now, Commissioner Utes, I would have expected to avoid the RJ jet on approach to Reagan and go into.
I didn't say
Dulles or
that.
anything.
I didn't say nothing about, just one-way ticket.
All right, well, that,
I'd like to come back.
it is a round trip. Commissioner reports, we will go right to left. Madam Gurman, your report.
Since it's just been a short time since our last meeting, I don't have a whole lot to report, except that I did attend my first meeting with the library board and just kind of getting a feel for things over there, so nice group of people, and found out about the Friends of the Library, which is kind of a cool project that they have there, so.
All right, very good, thank you. Commissioner Basque?
I haven't done anything new since our last report. However, I believe on Sunday, I believe at 1 o'clock at the high school is the yearly Vietnamese celebration. I used to go when I was sheriff. I don't know that I ever remember seeing any other county representation there. I saw a lot of city representation. I would encourage anybody to attend. It would be greatly appreciated by them, so I plan on attending that celebration on Sunday.
Very good. Commissioner Utes?
I have no board reports to make other than I did visit with Great Plains Development, Inc., and we're trying to set up a meeting so that we can introduce ourselves and I have a better understanding what their incorporation is involved in.
In my report, I got ahead of myself and reported Representative Lewis's communication to us with regard to our sales tax bill, and we did work to get that sent to them for filing with the reviser of statutes. And we'll follow up this week in making sure that it gets to the floor and referred back to the committee. And by the 18th at our next session, we will most likely have a scheduled hearing date in Topeka. And we'll need to consider then the expense of one or more commissioners and the administrator traveling to Topeka to promote and testify in support of that bill. So everyone's aware. Also, the administrator is preparing a packet in support of the reason and necessity for the sales tax bill, and working on that with HMN and Sean Harding, I believe, as far as the visual component of that and getting it put together, and really appreciate the work being done there, so that we have a good presentation when the time comes in Topeka. Other than a few other citizen contacts, that's my report. We've already handled the executive session. Madam Counselor, is there any reason for any additional executive sessions?
No.
All right, very good.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
One thing I wanted to point out, Shruti reminded me that she will be participating in the Career Showcase on healthcare, and that's taking place on the 6th, which I believe is Thursday.
Correct. And USD 457 has stepped up to the plate and will have as many as 80 participants from our high school in that showcase. And if any of the commissioners would like to attend, you're more than welcome to attend. Please contact Bob Kreitzer for all the information of that showcase being held here in Finney County at the exhibition building. Let me get the name right. All right. We need to address the issue of a joint session with Garden City and Holcomb City Commissions on February 18th. The time is 11:30-ish, or is it 12:30?
I thought it was 11 to 12:30.
11 to 12:30, excuse me. And then the proposed agenda for that, I don't have that email handy. I'm looking for you, Robert, to help us. Would you please? Thursday. Well, that's what the commissioners here ought to decide for the joint meeting. I didn't, as the chairman, want to singularly determine the agenda with our fellow counterparts from the city and Holcomb. We do have one contract issue that is outstanding, and that's the animal shelter contract. I don't know that, Madam Counselor, have you and Jimmy Dummermuth, the city's attorney, had a chance to even work through that? Is that premature for a joint meeting?
Just had a preliminary, very preliminary discussion with Jennifer Cunningham on that one. I think she's probably going to handle that one rather than Mr. Dummermuth.
All right.
But I don't know. We talked briefly when we were having that discussion about probably needing to bring in the Humane Society who's running that animal shelter as well. So I don't know. We have an hour and a half slated for that one. I'm not sure with the agenda that they're proposing at this point in time that we're going to have time for a whole big old long discussion on another contract agreement in that one. That may be better served for the next one. That contract is not due. It's set to expire the end of this year. So it could be that would be a good conversation for the following joint meeting.
Okay. Any requests for additions to the agenda for the joint meeting? And notice, I believe the email is the city's going to do the notice to comply with open meetings. So I don't think there's anything that Dory needs to do other than, if you would, publish that we're going to have the joint meeting on our website.
Yes, and I believe I've already done that.
All right, very good. The March 3rd, we'll have a regular 18th, we'll have a regular session. And then the 3rd will be our first session with the then interim administrator, Gary Meager, on March 3rd, followed by March 3rd work session to introduce Gary to all the department heads formally, and also to set in motion our work for goals and priorities for budgeting in 2026. Any other work session agenda on the 3rd that I need to cover, Robert? Governance model? Correct, we are. Because by then we will also know whether we have retained and identified who's going to do our scan, also for assistance in the search for a new administrator. So all those issues will be during regular session on contract work session on goals and priorities and governance model. Anything else for the work session or the schedule that we have? Commissioners, is there any other business before the commission? Then Commissioner Vice Chair Gurman, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.